What is good, YouTube? Welcome to the H-Town Shutdown, your one-stop shop for everything Houston pro sports. Today, the Houston Astros began their quest to repeat as champions in Major League Baseball, Game 1 of the American League Division Series, and they got the dub against the Minnesota Twins. We will break that down, as well as look forward to tomorrow's game. I'm recording this on Saturday, August 7th. Is it 7th? Yeah, August 7th. Look ahead to the Houston Texans Week 5 game against the Atlanta Falcons on the road. The 2-2 Houston Texans coming off 2 wins in a row. We'll break that down as well. Let's get it started with the Houston Astros. All right. So Justin Verlander came in and got the Game 1 start and set the tone for the Astros against the Minnesota Twins. Now, started off a little shaky. He had, I think, about 25 pitches to get through the first inning. Didn't have his command. He had his stuff. The pitches were, looking good and doing what they were supposed to do, except for landing where it needed to be. The velocity was there. I think the game plan was good, but he wasn't throwing strikes. But like the veteran he is, he was able to maneuver through that and pitched 6 scoreless innings. Verlander, I think today showed why the trade to get him back to the Astros was so important. He's a veteran, man. Things weren't going his way to begin. I guess the first 2 runners got on, and he was missing with balls, and his location and his command just was not on point to begin the game. But he fought through. And that's just who Justin Verlander is as a future Hall of Famer, and exactly what the Astros need. A calming presence, somebody who's been there before, somebody who knows if I'm not getting my strikes, I'm going to get outs some other way. So getting them to chase on the slider, pinning them up, making them foul it back. He's a fly ball pitcher. Not too many ground balls in Justin Verlander. I think he only had 2 this year. 2 ground ball doubles, that is. Not doubles. Double plays. So today, I think he had about 3 of those hitters hitting into double plays. So a little bit of a wrinkle in his game that you hadn't seen too much of. Verlander's a fly ball guy. He doesn't allow too many men on base either. It was a lot of traffic, especially in the first 3 innings, for Verlander to work around, and the veteran worked around it. So I think it was a great game for Justin Verlander. Wasn't his best performance as far as, strikeouts and command and pitch count, but it was enough to get the job done. Now, the game got a little tight in the 7th inning, but we'll get to that. So Verlander does his job, as I mentioned, and pitched 6 innings scoreless. But the Astros were not scoreless. Jose Altuve, first pitch, bottom of the first, leadoff hitter. He does what he does. Hit it right out the park. Home run. First pitch home run for Altuve to set the tone and to get the Astros on the board 1-0. 3rd inning comes. Same score, 1-0. They get Altuve on that same pitch that he knocked out the park in the 1st inning. They get him on that in the 3rd inning. Bregman gets on. Mr. Houston October himself, Jordan Alvarez, comes through and hits a 2-run home run. In the 4th inning, I believe, who got the RBI? So that made it 3-0. Either in the 4th or 5th inning, I think McCormick had an RBI and Jose Abreu had an RBI to make it 5-0. So we're going into the 7th inning, up 5-0. The Twins make a run. Hector Neris comes in, and he's been pretty much lights out as one of our best relievers and setup men. One of the best setup men in the league this year. That 7th inning, man, he has been lights out, but that was not the case today. He let the first 2 runners on, striked out the next 2, and then gave up a 3-run home run to Polanco, who was their 2-hitter, to make the game 5-3. Then the 3-hitter comes, Royce Lewis, who is a dangerous hitter. I remember him from the series earlier this year. I think the one that was here in Houston, and Lewis hit the home run to. I think, matter of fact, he may have had like 3 RBIs that game. He was probably the only guy that was hitting that beat us in that. I think it might have been a Memorial Day game against the Twins earlier this year. Lewis comes up and hits a home run right after Polanco. They hit back-to-back home runs. Next thing you know, it's 5-4 going to the bottom of the 7th. Man, so what looked like was going to be a pretty comfortable win turned into a ball game because the Twins pretty good. They're really good. I think they're a really good team. They don't have any quit in them. Made it a competitive game. We get to the bottom of the 7th. There goes that man again. Jordan Alvarez hits another home run, this time a solo shot to make it 6-4. I gotta say, man, I watched it all year with the Astros. When are teams going to realize that bringing in your left-handed pitcher is not a neutralizing tactic against Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker? I know they're left-handed batters, and common knowledge says that you bring your left-handed relievers in, you bring your left-handed pitchers in to get out the left-handed batters. I've watched teams do this for a few years now and not be successful. Alvarez crushes left-handers. So does Tucker. And they bring in their only left-handed reliever, who has been lights out this year and has not allowed a home run from a left-handed batter this year. They bring him in to face Alvarez. I can't knock the decision by Baldelli to do that. His guy doesn't give up home runs to left-handers. Matter of fact, left-handers are hitting 1-something against him. So I can't knock the strategy to Rocco Baldelli. It's just that this left-hander, Jordan Alvarez, kills lefties. Doesn't matter. He kills righties as well. But bringing in the lefty is not an automatic out or any problem with Jordan Alvarez as he knocks another home run out, this time hitting the foul pole and staying fair and making the score 6-4. But I've watched teams do this all year. I've watched teams do this for 2 years, 3 years now. They bring in their left-handed pitchers to face Alvarez and Tucker. And more times than not, they make them pay, both of them. So it's good to have those type of bats in your lineup. And Jordan made it 6-4, which ended up being the final score as Brian Abreu came in and they pulled Hector Neris in the 7th. Abreu got the last out in the 7th, then he got 3 outs in the 8th, and they bring in Ryan Presley to shut it down in the 9th, and he did exactly that. Astros go up 1-0. Game 2 is tomorrow, Sunday. I think it's a Sunday night game. It'll be on at the same time as the Cowboys 49ers game. So, I'm gonna have to be doing some toggling, man. YouTube TV is pretty cool because you can watch 2 different things at once. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully, I'm able to do that with those games tomorrow. But the Astros just do what they do, man. Come October, this team comes prepared. This team turns it up a notch, and they understand where they're at, and they got the most experience in October left in the playoffs. So, tight games like the one today doesn't get them rattled. And that's good to see because that wasn't always the case, especially at home this season. As we've discussed so many times before on this show, this past season has been a really rocky season for the Astros. They won the division on the last day of the year. Astro fans are used to the division being wrapped up going into September and not really having to stress about it, just worrying about if we're going to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. But this year, I think all of that happened for a reason. I think it's beneficial also. I think it is allowed Dusty to see what he has in the lineups. It's allowed Dusty Baker to manage through adversity. A lot of injuries took place this year for the Astros, and they didn't always have their best lineup in there. A lot of Astro fans will argue Dusty doesn't play the best lineup every single day. But that's a story for another. That's another topic for another day. But today the job got done, And this team just shows that, when it comes to October, if you got the guys that you got, Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker, guys that have been there before. You throw in McCormick, who won a World Series with him last year, Dubon, Maldonado, Michael Brantley, professional hitter himself. You got guys that have been there, especially in our bullpen. Hector Neris didn't have a great game today, but I guarantee you he'll bounce back. Brian Abreu, who's been lights out the last 3 or 4 months of the season on into the playoffs. Ryan Presley being a shutdown. Ryan Stanek, Justin Verlander. Great team win today, and I look forward to seeing what they're able to do in Game 2. I will say that Game 2 is probably the most important game of the series. Now, Game 1's important, but I think Game 2 is important because you want to go back up 2-0 headed back to Minneapolis. Going up 2-0 would be beneficial because you got a 2-game lead with 2 to play there. And, it's hard to sweep a team. It really is, especially on their home field, especially that home field advantage that it looks like Minneapolis will have. The Twins fans were wild in that Blue Jays series. So the game 3 will probably be a tough one to get, and you might have to favor the Twins going back home with momentum in that first home game. But if you're up 2 games to 0, I like our chances. So Game 2 is very important. Framber Valdez will be on the mound. I'm not sure. Is it Lopez on the mound for the Twins? I think their ace is on the mound, so should be a pretty good matchup. Looking forward to it. Great win by the Astros, and we'll chronicle Game 2 tomorrow night. All right. Also tomorrow night, we'll be talking about the result of the game between the Houston Texans and the Atlanta Falcons down in Atlanta, Georgia. And the Falcons, who are 2-2, versus the Texans, who are 2-2, should be a pretty good game. The Texans are coming off of 2 impressive blowout wins, one on the road, one at home, both where they were underdogs. On the road in Jacksonville, and they end up winning by 20, and at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they end up winning by 24. As I mentioned in a previous episode, C.J. Stroud has been absolutely magnificent. No interceptions this year, and his confidence, his poise, and his demeanor has permeated across the entire team. The defense has been playing inspired football. Pass rush is there. Not too many missed tackles. If you watch the Texans the past 3 years, even in the Bill O'Brien years, you kind of get used to seeing missed tackles. It was a bunch of those. That's not happening as much this year. Secondary, playing with force. We already know Jalen Petrie was that. He showed that last year. Team him up with Jimmy Ward and our as the safeties and our corners. Hopefully we can get Stingley back from injury. And that's another thing I will talk about later. The injuries that have been piling up on the Texans kind of look like the Astros this year. But they're showing a lot of perseverance. Our secondary has been great. Nico Collins is emerging as he's a top 20 receiver right now, and probably on his way up even higher. There's a connection with him and Stroud. The running game that was non-existent in the first 2 games has showed itself to be true in this game, in the last 2 games, Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. So now you go to Atlanta, a team that started out 2-0, a team that, are they good? And I don't think they're bad, but are they good? Looking at their games, you know what they want to do. They want to run the ball. Bijan Robinson has come, the running back from UT, has come in and pretty much made his mark on his team, along with Algier from BYU. And they're a running team. They're a run first team. They gotta. You would think they got a lot of talent at the outside position with receivers and tight ends, but they don't want to throw the ball. And I think that is a direct correlation to the quarterback, Desmond Ridder. I don't think he's showing that he's capable of being able to make the throws that they need him to make in order for them to get to where they want to get to this year. A lot of people had a lot of high hopes on the Falcons. I think I even had them second in the division, expecting them to win at least 7 games. They started off 2-0, looked good from there, but the last 2 losses, they have not looked good. Getting pummeled by Jacksonville and London. And who was the other loss? Was it Detroit? It might have been Detroit, but they've lost 2 in a row. Let me look at Atlanta's schedule. I think it was Detroit. And you can see that Ritter is the weak link on their offense. Their defense is looking pretty good. They got a lot of playmakers back there. Jesse Bates has turned into a playmaker for them, man. I think he has like 3 picks in the first 4 games. 2 of those came in one game. I forgot who they were playing. 2 of those came in one game. But Bates is a playmaker. They got Calais Campbell back there. They got a lot of guys on that team that are pretty good players. So they lost to Jacksonville. Yeah, and it was Detroit. So 2 road games. The Jacksonville game was in London, and then the Lion game was in Detroit. They had 2 home games where they beat the Panthers, Bryce Young, and they beat Green Bay. They came back. They were losing that game. They came back and won that game 25-24 in week 2. So the ability is there, but I don't think the consistency is there. I don't know if they have the guys. I don't know if they have the quarterback to be consistent. I don't know if they have the team to be consistent. So I'm not sure about the Atlanta Falcons going forward if the quarterback's not going to be as effective as they were hoping he'd be in year 2. I see that the Texans are +2 favorites in Atlanta. So it's pretty much a pick'em game. The sack problem that the Texans had in the first 2 games with the offensive line pretty much being hurt, not good, really the first 2 games, doesn't seem to be a problem these last 2 games. And this is why I have to go back to what C.J. Stroud has meant to this team. There was even talk about, man, don't play C.J. with this offensive line, man. No sense in getting them hurt. Please. C.J., really? C.J. is a competitor, and he's a baller. And a weak offensive line, it's not going to stop him. He already knows where he's going with the football, and he's wise beyond his years. He looks like a 5-year pro in this offense. Got to give the coaching staff a lot of credit. He looks like a 5-year pro. And if you look at his progression, started in the preseason, that first preseason game where he looked deer in headlights, to where he is now, the only thing you can say is that he has improved each and every game and each and every opportunity he has gotten to play. From that first preseason game into now, it's night and day. And he's making improvements. You can see him improving, and he doesn't make the same mistake twice. He hasn't made an interception mistake yet, but he doesn't make the same mistake twice. This is something that you look for in not just rookie quarterbacks, but young quarterbacks and quarterbacks overall. And for him to be making the strides that he's made from that first preseason game where it looks like I'm not sure he's ready to play, to now where he's breaking records for rookie quarterbacks, it's impressive, man. It's impressive. So going into this Atlanta game, I am picking the Texans to win on the road. They just have to stop the run and win the turnover battle. So CJ's giving them an advantage in that, where they're not turning the ball over. Now the Texans have to get turnovers. They've gotten a couple in the last 2 games. And if they do that, they'll put themselves in position to win. Atlanta just does not seem to, especially the last 2 games where they're scoring, 6 points and 7 points. They don't seem to have the horse that they need at the quarterback position to get the ball to the playmaker. They got Drake London. They got Kyle Pitts. They got some playmakers out in Atlanta, man, and they're not being utilized. And I know that is frustrating for the Falcons fans because, we got the running back now. We got two backs. The offensive line is above average. And our weapons, our outside weapons, should appear to be above average, should be in the top 10 as far as weapons and receiving corps. The weak link is Ritter. He's holding on to the ball. He's making bad decisions, and he's not able to make the throws that they need him to make. I think that continues, and that the Texans get the dub that they're looking for and move to 3-2. If they do that, man, I think they're going to put the division on notice and start to turn some heads and start to gain some attention if they can get this dub tomorrow. So I look forward to it, man. I got the Texans winning. They've blown out the last two opponents. There's probably a little more film on it. I expect them to win on the road. I'll give them a win by a touchdown, 24-17, Houston. Well, there you have it, guys. Breakdown of the Houston Texans Week 5 game against the Atlanta Falcons. We will break it down tomorrow, the result, see what happened. Also, tomorrow we'll break down Game 2 of the American League Division Series. Astros up 1-0 on the Minnesota Twins with the big win today. It's going to be a great weekend in Houston, and I will keep you guys posted. Appreciate you joining me, and until next time, y'all take it easy.